Assalamu alaikum. I would like in the beginning to thank the Qobiyat Tivyari organization for organizing this beautiful event, for also offering us those delicious Polish cakes, and for finally inviting me to talk in a panel in which the men are underrepresented, not the women. I see that we are 2 men and 4 women, and I don't know why. Is this oppression for men? Or maybe you believe that the speech of 1 man is equal to 2 speeches from women or something. In 2010, Cambridge University issued a survey, and in this survey they said that 75% of the new Muslims in Britain are women. And I found this actually mind-blowing, because if Islam is the religion which oppresses women, then actually 75% of the new Muslims should be men coming into Islam to oppress women in it. But no, 75% are women. So I started to communicate with my friends all over the world in the different Islamic centers to ask them, and I was shocked to learn that in Mexico, 90% of the new Muslims are women. And in Hong Kong, 97% of the new Muslims are women. And in Sweden, 75% of the new Muslims are women. So I decided to explore the secret. You know, one of the things that the chair didn't say about me, that I'm a filmmaker. So I made 3 documentaries about Islam. The very last one is called Islam in Women, not Women in Islam. I named it like that after I traveled all through the world, and I actually interviewed women converts to Islam in 12 different countries. From the Far East in Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, to the US, Sweden, here in 12 countries. Trying to explore why, what in the world attracts women to Islam more than men. And guess what I found? And the documentary is on YouTube. It's freedom. The concept of freedom is the one that invites women more to Islam than men. Freedom from who? From men. And the very same misconceptions about Islam that repel people from Islam are the very same things that attracted them to Islam. Some people say that Islam locks up women at home, doesn't allow them to go out and work. The woman in Hong Kong told me, no, that's not true. In Hong Kong, every single woman should work and put 50% of the rent on the table at the end of the month and put 50% of the food on the table. But Islam allowed me to work or not, and told me that if I work, my money is mine, and if I help my husband, that's a charity from me. People say Islam actually restricts women when it comes to attire and clothing, and it obligates on them covering themselves and stuff like that. The woman in Holland told me, no, Islam freed me from being a tool of enjoyment for men. If you want to see slavery, go to many cities in Europe. There's a place where it's called the red light district, where women are displayed naked in windows. For men who don't have money to rent for an hour to look for free. Isn't that slavery or not? So the issue is, the way we see Islam can be different. It depends on the lens. When people change their lens, they can see the same thing but differently. But today what happened? Women are enslaved again. All over the world. Especially Muslim women. Who's to blame on that? Islam or the culture, which returned back? The Arab culture, the Indian culture, the Western culture. When the Prophet ﷺ, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, started his mission, women were second-class creatures. Not just that they did not inherit, no. When someone dies, they were the object of inheritance themselves, like his sword and his horse. That was the case with women. When the Prophet came, he took for his political advisor a woman. And the woman who was the Prophet's political advisor was Lady Salama. She gave him an advice on a very crucial matter during a time when his male followers were about to disobey him. In a very crucial time at the time of Al-Hudaybiyah. And he did what she told him, and it worked. At the time of Prophet Muhammad 14 centuries ago, women voted. In Arabia, women voted. They voted before the Battle of Uhud. The Prophet called all the Muslims to come to the mosque, and they came and he told them, I have information that 4,000 soldiers are marching towards us. And they were like 700 at that time. I want to consult you. Should we go out and fight them outside Medina, or should we wait and fight here from street to street? Because we know the city. And they voted all together, men and women, same. They voted. They also voted to choose the caliph, the caliphate, where the women were voting like men. So women were voting in Arabia 14 centuries ago. Women are not voting anymore in Arabia. And today there's no voting for women. Actually, in some Gulf countries, neither men nor women are voting. In the Emirates, no elections at all. But mainly it's women. So women voted 14 centuries before they voted in the UK. 14 centuries before they voted in America. 14 centuries before, when did women start to vote in France? 1945. Do you know when women started to vote in Switzerland? 1970. Women were voting 14 centuries ago, but they're not voting anymore. Why? Because the Arab culture came back. And it's overriding Islam itself. So the issue here is who to blame, Islam or the culture? But when it comes to the sex, actually, who to blame, men or women, for oppressing women? In my own opinion, it's women more than men. Because women allowed themselves to be abused again by men. And they could have taken a better stand. But actually, in some countries, we see some laziness from women. They love it like that. Who wants to line up outside the polls? Excuse me, you don't even want to fight for your right? Who wants? And I've seen that, and I heard that from women. I heard from women in some countries where they do not even allow to drive. They tell me, I'm like a queen. I have a driver. And even the women who don't have drivers, they have like 4 drivers. Her husband is a driver, her father is a driver, her brother is a driver, her son is a driver. This is the way some people think. Women are oppressing their own selves. Many women corner themselves again back in the corner of fashion and colors and stuff like that. And they are not really going out, organizing events like that. That's why I'm so happy today to be in an event like that, organized by women, in a women organization, where men are the minority actually, in the event and in the panel. I'm so proud, and I think this is a shift that should continue, and women should start actually continuing this momentum. The pre-Islamic era was called the time of Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah means the time of ignorance, where not only paganism existed, but also misogyny existed. Women, it was like disgraceful for a man when he hears the news that his wife gave birth to a female child. They used to bury them alive. It was disgraceful because it's like dishonoring him. When the Prophet came, he told men, if any one of you is in charge of daughters, they will be a shield from the hellfire on the day of judgment for him if he treats them nicely. He didn't say in charge of sons, because that was the norm. They were always nice to sons, but not to daughters. So the Prophet said, to balance this, if you're nice to your daughters and you upbring them well and you discipline them well, they will be a shield on the day of judgment for you. Changing the way of thinking. Islam did not just come to change the beliefs and from paganism to worshipping the one true God. Not only that. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph after Prophet Muhammad. After Prophet Muhammad came the first caliph, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and then Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he became Muslim, he was still misogynistic for a while. So when he came back home, his wife argued with him. He said, how come you argue with me, you woman? He said, how come you are angry of something that doesn't anger the Prophet? And he was actually the father-in-law of Prophet Muhammad. So his daughter was married to Prophet Muhammad. He said, what? Our daughter Hafsa argues with her husband? He said, yeah, she told me. So he went to his daughter's house. He knocked the door. She opened and said, do you argue with your husband? She said, that's none of your business, Dad. He is my husband. He's the one who says. He said, listen, looks like this is true. Take permission for me. I want to meet him right now. He entered and the Prophet was smiling. Come here, Omar, sit. What's the problem between you and the women of Medina? He said, Prophet of Allah, in Mecca, we were different. And we used to rule our households. Now we came to a place where people are different. Medina's people are more civilized, so their women have more freedom, even before Islam. He said, our women are learning from the attitude of women of Medina. So the Prophet wanted to deal with the misogyny and the sexism, not misogyny, but sexism in him. And he told him, and who is the woman, O Umar? Isn't your mother a woman? And the Meccans, even though they are sexist, but they respect their mothers. He said, oh yeah, O Prophet of Allah. He said, isn't your sister, elder sister, a woman? And the Meccans looked at elder sisters like mothers. He said, oh yeah, Prophet of Allah. He said, then it's not about who's the man and who's the woman, Umar. It doesn't go like that. After 20 years from this time, when Umar, 15 years, when he became the caliph, he stood up on the minbar and he said something, and a woman argued with him in front of people, and he said, this woman is right and Umar is wrong. He changed. He changed. So the issue is, Islam came to change this in people, actually. Actually, I would like to end by telling people that we should stop blaming Islam. Totally. The problem lies in the way people understand Islam, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Believe me, Islam is by far the most misunderstood religion in the world. We need to learn about it. Whether we're Muslims or not, or non-Muslims, we all need to learn about it, because actually 1 out of every 5 people in this world is a Muslim. So if you're a non-Muslim, your neighbor must be one of your neighbors must be a Muslim. One of your colleagues must be a Muslim. And they are not going to finish. Trump is not going to finish Muslims, by the way. You need to understand that. So we have to either coexist or live like that forever. So we need to learn how to coexist. Thank you very much, and barakallah feekum. Assalamu alaikum.